And welcome back to yet another Buffalo Bills pregame. It'll be our last show of the season as we wrap up the game the Bills just had with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm your host, Randy Williams. Jared is with me, Sean and Dan as well. Gentlemen, thank you all so much for being here. We all watched the game. It was an emotional roller coaster, lots of lead changes. Did not finish the way that we as Bills fans wanted it to. Dan, we'll start with you. Your immediate reaction.
Well, it's hard to really, think of, what to think of after, the fourth time losing in a row to the same team, where last year, we got the home game that we wanted. That didn't work out. This year, it seems like we really had the momentum and, without Diggs, it seems like we were playing much better as a team. And, I thought the defense was going to be able to step up and they weren't able to. Um, and some key offensive players didn't really get it done at the end of the game. So it's frustrating given that next year at this time, if we want to get further, we're gonna have to go through this all again, and it's you start to wonder what can we do to finally get by.
Well, we can't lose to him 5 times in a row. That's just science. So, Sean, your immediate reaction?
They weren't supposed to be as good this year. And they have 10 draft picks. They have a lot of cap room coming off. I think they might possibly cut Vaughn, or at least restructure again, get something. So that'll be even more money. So I'm not too worried. Rebuilds, all these teams go through this type of thing. And I think they have a lot of ammo to go get much better. I am slightly worried about kind of some of the tendencies we tend to fall into these. Hey, we're gonna go for fourth and ones. I know that's a 97% for the season, but they clearly had your number and Romo was calling it out every time. So I'd like to see some adjustment there with that one. But I mean, they need better receivers. I mean, they just do. Their running game and their O line's really good. They need much better secondary, depth there, and one or two gap player for the defensive line. So they've got a lot of little holes, but I think they're in a good spot, and they have a lot of resources to go and get better.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see a QB sneak to the right-hand side for sure. Jared,
Yeah.
your reaction to the game?
I mean, guys, I really thought we were going to win this one. I wouldn't have predicted a Bills win if I didn't actually assume that was going to happen. I felt confident all week. I felt confident the whole day. But I lost that confidence rather quickly when Josh nearly threw 2 interceptions at the beginning of the game. Like, all out of nowhere, he looked like old Josh. And I was like, oh, like all season we didn't see this. And then we see it there. Now I'm not blaming this game on Josh Allen or any particular person by any stance, and we all put our pardons in. So McDermott's off the hook based on that. But no, it was a team loss, and it was just two really good teams. I was looking at the stats earlier, and you couldn't go more identical between two teams in terms of the running, the passing, the defense. The only differences was like they got more third downs than we did basically, and I think like we got one more penalty. Um, and I think as Sean was implying, yeah, the secondary we had two players out, so we only had 50% of our starters, so that's never a good sign. But the sad thing is that you would think a former first round pick and a current second round pick from the this year's draft would be good, not like free agent nobodies, not seventh round nobodies. These are top notch players you're bringing in as their backups, and that still didn't get it done. So, I mean, they even had a graphic showing Kaiir Elam's like mistakes. They're like, okay, let's go to the package that shows all the mistakes he's made. So there you go. I mean, that's a defensively, I think that's where the team really needs to fix itself. The question, and we'll talk about this later, I'm sure, Randy, but the question is like, how do we do that? And that's the thing going forward.
Do you think it was the right call that we didn't get that fourth down when the view from the camera was obscured, like the ball is obscured by the scrum?
Who's that to? Me?
Yeah. To you. I'll go to everyone, but we'll start with you, Jay.
Okay. Oh no, the fourth down where where Romo and Gene Steratore drew a line down the line and showed that he crossed was that was fourth down. I mean that was a first down. Like you had the guy who could see the ball actually wave it in as a first, and then the other judge who didn't see the ball looked like it was short. But in that case, you go with whoever saw the ball, and they just decided not to do that. So no, that should have been a first down. However, while being up by one and having a first down in that situation is important, we have zero clue what would have happened after that. You know what I mean? We might have gotten a field goal, and that's obviously good. We could have scored a touchdown. That would have been great, obviously, to go up by two scores. But, for all we know, we threw a pick six the next play, So I don't really call the whole game on that one play.
Sean, you're shaking your head. You disagree or you're just mad about it still?
Here, go to Dan. I got to do something really quick.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Unprecedented Buffalo Bills pregame, but you know what? This is the fun of live streaming. Dan, what do you think?
I think it was definitely a first down. The way that the referee from that side of the field ran in, it looked like it was definitely a first down. But that being said, I agree with Jared. I don't want to sit here and blame the refs as to why we lost this game. Anything could have happened. That's just kind of how sports goes. That being said, I do think it was a first down. Um, but there's a couple of calls throughout the game. That the catch that they called. It was. I know that's not what you were asking, but I thought that should have been either an interception or incomplete. That being said, there was still a defensive holding on the play, but a couple missed calls. But I don't think the Bills lost because of any bad calls by the refs.
It did look like to me like the ball was on the ground before it was controlled by any player. To talk about it real quick, but uh, all right, we're all waiting with bated breath now, Sean. The build up. We saw your sage snub and everything. So what is it?
The
The fourth and one. Was it a good
sage
call, you think?
snub. Yeah, so this is actually a very interesting thing. I think they're going to make a rule change. I think you're going to have the rules committee look at this. They have been looking at putting a microchip in the ball for some time. They have the size of the microchip down to about the grain of rice. There were reports about it preseason that they were going to trial it, and for some reason didn't go through with it. I think every other sport is using augmented reality AR to make these types of calls. And I honestly, if this isn't the impetus to, a call as bad as that, when everyone at a bar can see that it's a first down. I mean, there's a lot of, missed calls. I think Ed Oliver, got lucky on that offsides, or that false start. I think that was an offsides. I don't think they missed really many calls for us. Anything we did, they pretty much called. That hit on Pat might have been called, but then again, I think they're on their microscope as far as that call because of last week. But I think that's going to be a rules change committee thing. I think the technology is there now. I think they would be stupid not to use it. Um, I think it's going to be similar to like how the overtime rule got changed for Josh again. Unfortunately, it had to work against us again. But yeah, I think that's going to be a rules committee thing. And I really, really hope they put it in because it makes no sense in a $1 billion, $1 trillion almost business to not have calls that you can use technology to help you assist with things like that.
So for the sake of the title of this video on YouTube, we all agree Bills fans blame refs for loss. Got it?
Yes,
All right.
that's what
Well,
we need. Okay.
exactly. This is our big show. I'm really disappointed in myself to not have been ahead of the game and having advertisers lined up. But next season, I promise everybody. Which turns to the off season now. What are the biggest things that we need to deal with on the off season? Sean, I'll come back to you.
Um, I think secondary. They got to get it shored up. Douglas is older. I think a lot of stuff's going to be done on the defensive side. I think they need to get at least one new pass catcher. Coleman's not getting open. Hopefully he takes a second step. Um, Kincaid, it did not turn into, he hit a sophomore slump. He did not. I know tight ends take a while, but Sam Leporta sure has no problem being productive. So, I think that getting a pass catcher, getting good things for the secondary, getting someone to help. I mean, DaQuan Jones, how long is he going to be viable to make Ed Oliver, a lot more? I mean, Ed Oliver's very explosive, but you need a bigger guy next to him to take up, body so he can't get double teamed. So I think you need one person there. You need at least one corner. You might need another linebacker. I mean, how long is Milano going to last? For those three linebacker sets. Yeah, so receiver, linebacker, maybe a one tech, two tech player on the defensive line, maybe at often, a backup offensive lineman, but I think you're decently set there. You have really good depth. So I mean, I think the secondary is just a mess. It's just a mess. I mean, Elam, such a bust. Unfortunately, we can say that now, in my opinion. And so drafting another player there high, maybe. I mean, McDermott, turns most of those guys into very serviceable players. He just doesn't fit our scheme. That's his thing. He's a man guy, and we don't play man a lot. And he can't get it when we don't play man, and he's just a liability out there. And I think he's a big reason we lost the game when what's his name, Benford went out with that concussion. So yeah.
Jared, biggest priorities for the offseason?
Yeah, echoing the same point. Gotta look at the defense. I think the offense is pretty good. I mean, the line, if we can keep that line, that would be great. James Cook did amazing. I think Josh Allen's all right. And as for the receivers, yeah, I mean, what I really like about our receivers is we have this really, fun, no-name receiver kind of thing, and I like that. It kind of reminds me of a little bit of the glory days of the drought. And what I mean by that is, not like this like superstar mentality, not this like super high expectations, but just like these very humble guys that like there's no more number one receiver and anybody can be the guy that week. I mean, it was Mack Hollins that got the most yards this week, you know what I mean? And then the week before it was Shakir. I mean, Shakir, oh my God, he still managed to do really good. And they all knew he was going to be the number one receiver going into the game. I just echoing what I said before. I mean, it's a question of how do we fix the secondary because like we already talked about, we already have our first and second round as the backups, and like that's not good enough. So it's like okay, I mean, how much? I mean, yeah, sure, we could do it again. We can go out and get more. But the question will just ultimately be like, will that be good enough? And hopefully it will. And yeah, I like the D line. But yeah, it's going to age out eventually. DaQuan Jones, like you said, Sean. I mean, Sean pretty much already said this, so I'm not going to repeat it too much longer. But
Sean
what I
crushed the
will say,
analysis. No one's else to say, but we do have our sub
I have one
headline.
other thing. I got one other thing. Um, Von Miller, our backup, our backup edge rusher. He's the second highest paid player on the team. Like we got to cut that. We got to get that's done. I don't care how we do it, but we got to get that money back because that's if we want to fix the defense, that's the problem. We can't have the super high paid backup as we just can't have it. I mean that's the problem. So if we fix Von Miller, we the whole money situation there, we can fix the defense. I mean think about it. We got rid of Diggs, right? He was the third highest paid player on the team, and look how good the offense did. Like averaged 30 points a game. So get rid of Von Miller. It'll fix all of our problems.
You could be the head of you could be the head of the department of Bill's efficiency.
Oh,
We have
oh God.
we have our sub headline though. Bills fans pine for the glory days of the drought. Thank you for that as well, Jared. Dan, is there anything that didn't get covered that you would like the Bills to address in the offseason?
No, I think I definitely agree with Sean and Jared. I think they need to go out and get a star edge rusher or a star defensive player. Which we were all hoping Von Miller was going to be that, and obviously that hasn't panned out. So I'm thinking, go all out, try and go out and get, Myles Garrett or Maxx Crosby, one of those guys. Maybe I know that's a tough ask. You're probably gonna have to get rid of a first round pick for that, but seems like the Bills haven't really been hitting on their first round picks the last couple of years. Kaiir Elam, Kincaid, um, Coleman. Obviously, Coleman's a rookie, but it seems like those guys haven't really panned out the way that we thought they were going to. So if it means trading for a first round pick to get a star defensive player, I'm all for it. Add a receiver. I think maybe an off season and a training camp with the Bills is going to help Cooper, but hopefully you can get more production out of him. But yeah, I know. I think they just need to add some more firepower on the defensive end.
Dan, do you think that we're division champs again next year, or is the window starting to close?
No, I definitely think we are still the division champs next year. I think that's the most frustrating part. Is I really do think next year we'll be back at the same position, most likely playing the Chiefs. I definitely think until proven otherwise, I think the Bills are going to continue to win the division. I don't think the Patriots, Jets, or Dolphins are much of a threat at all. Um, so the question is, what can you do to get over that hump? And we've been talking about that multiple years in a row now. What we can do to beat the Chiefs. I think a lot of it is coaching, and I'm definitely not saying fire McDermott because I think he's a great coach, but I think that's what it came down to last night was we got out coached, and then it's hard to overcome that sometimes. But no, to answer your question, I think the Bills will be division AFC East champs again next year. Yes.
All right, Sean, to you, division champs or window closing?
Let me say something here. I just want to go back to the other question, and then I'll answer that. They need a burner at receiver. Look at what Worthy did for them. And listen, Coleman, you can't just be putting fade balls. I mean, what was it? 3 fade balls? I mean, the lowest percentage, pass completion, route that you can run. He just doesn't get separation. You need someone to take the top off the defense. I get that what's his name that they picked up was going to be that, and he just wasn't, and Coleman was not. So they need a burner receiver, someone to just really take the top off. They tried it with McKenzie a while back, and they thought maybe Coleman would be that jump ball guy, and he just hasn't panned out. I mean, I'm not giving up on Coleman, but they need that. But as far as the division, absolutely. Patriots are probably going to be second. I think Miami medals and the Jets are just garbage. So I think the Pats, I think they've really found their quarterback. I think they're going to be honestly challenging. They might split next year, home and away. We'll see what other weapons they get for him. But yeah, they're a big. Unfortunately, I think they might be second, and that's not what we want to hear as Bills fans. But I think two was a mess. The Jets are just an absolute mess. I mean, they're the worst. And Tyreek probably gone in Miami, and the Pats have their stuff together relatively. I mean, you just got a star coach, right? And we'll be on top again. But it's gonna be us and the Pats.
Hate a resurgent Patriots team. All right, Jared, finish off division champs next year.
I think so. I mean, Miami has only got it once in the last 25 years. Same thing with the Jets, the Patriots. Milton actually looked that backup that they had in Week 18 actually looked pretty good. I know they were playing against our backups, but that guy came out of nowhere and he did well. It's funny that we're talking about that. Well, okay, let me back up. I'm going to do what Sean did. I'm going to back up to another thing, and then I'm going to say my point about the division champs. You talked about Xavier Worthy. It's funny. And we were talking about the draft. Patrick Mahomes, Xavier Worthy, Justin Jefferson, 3 draft picks that could have been Buffalo Bills if we didn't trade them. So, as much as I'm really happy with what Brandon Beane does, at the same time, knowing that fact, just there's the whole big what if out there, and that's a frustrating thing. I mean, like Xavier Worthy, like just this past year, we traded him to the Chiefs, and it's just and seeing that he had the highest stats in that game was just very frustrating. But yeah, back to the division now. No, like when we were in the drought, I always was like, like the Patriots always win it. Like it shouldn't be the Patriots all the time. And now we're in the position where we're winning it all the time. And it's like I just want to win that Super Bowl so bad, so like I can not go back on what I used to say. You know what I mean? We have to keep winning the division so we can have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. You know, we can't be like, okay, Miami, you go this year and we'll find a way next year. No, we can't do that because we're still trying to get to the Super Bowl, and all those teams have already won the Super Bowl. So at this point, it's it's dog meat dog, or I don't even know what that means. We just got to keep busting our ass every year to try to get to the Super Bowl, and if we have to win the division 20 years in a row, I guess that's what we're gonna have to do.
Woohoo! All right. Well, we'll be there covering 20 years worth of division championships in a row, and we look forward to it. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Buffalo Bills pregame. We'll be back for a preseason preview next year, I'm sure. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure we will talk to you all again real soon. Go Bills! Woo!
Randy, are you wearing a shirt with yourself on it?
Would I do that?